Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Be English podcast. I am your host, John Miller.
And I am Emily Carter. We are so happy to have you here with us today.
If this is your first time listening, welcome to our community. The goal of the Be English podcast is very simple. We're here to help you practice your listening skills and improve your English.
That is right, John. We want to make learning English easy, fun, and encouraging. We speak slowly and clearly so you can understand every word. Whether you are a beginner or an advanced learner, this is the right place for you.
Exactly. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, relax, and let's get started. Today, we have a very interesting topic. It is a question that many students ask me.
Oh, I think I know which one you mean. Is it the big question about talent?
Yes, it is. The topic for today is, does learning English really require talent? Do you need to be born with a special gift to speak a new language?
Wow, that is a great topic. I hear people say, I'm just not good at languages all the time.
Me too. So today, we're going to explore this myth. We will talk about talent versus hard work and the best ways to learn.
Before we jump in, remember to follow our channel so you never miss an episode. Are you ready, John?
I am ready. Let's dive in.
So, John, let's be honest. When you look at someone who speaks English perfectly, do you ever think, wow, they are just naturally gifted?
Well, to be honest, Emily, sometimes I do. Especially when I see young children learning 2 or 3 languages at the same time. It seems so effortless for them. It makes you think there must be some special language gene.
Yes, a language gene. I wish I had one of those. You know, when I was in high school, I struggled a lot with French class. I looked at the other students who got A grades, and I thought, they have talent and I don't. It made me feel very discouraged.
Oh, I completely understand. It is a terrible feeling. You feel like you are running a race, but you have a heavy backpack, and everyone else is running freely. But Emily, do you really think those students were just talented?
Well, looking back now, I'm not so sure. Actually, I remember that one of the best students, a girl named Sarah, used to watch French movies every weekend. She loved the culture.
Aha, see? That is interesting. So maybe it wasn't magic. Maybe she was just spending more time with the language.
That is a good point. I think we often confuse talent with interest or exposure. People often say, I have no ear for music, or I have no ear for languages. But is that a physical fact or just a belief?
I think for 95% of people, it is just a belief. Sure, maybe 5% of people are geniuses. They hear a word once and remember it forever. But for the rest of us normal people, we're all in the same boat.
Exactly. We're all in the same boat. I like that expression. It means we're in the same situation. But John, if talent isn't the main factor, why do some people learn so much faster than others?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Exciting tone. I think it leads us to something much more important than talent. It is about consistency.
Consistency. That's a big word. Can you explain what you mean by that for our listeners?
Sure. Imagine you want to get fit. You want big muscles. If you go to the gym for 10 hours on one day and then you don't go for the rest of the month, what happens?
Well, you probably get very sore muscles and you will be very tired, but you won't get fit.
Exactly. But if you go to the gym for just 30 minutes every day, eventually you will see results. Language is exactly the same. It's like a muscle.
I love that comparison. So the talent we see in others might actually just be their daily habit.
Yes. I have a friend named Mike. He speaks excellent Spanish. Everyone says, Mike, you are so talented. But they don't see that Mike wakes up 30 minutes early every single morning to study flashcards, every single morning.
Wow, that is dedication. Thinking about it, if I studied anything for 30 minutes every day for a year, I would probably be pretty good at it.
Right. It's not about being smart, it's about showing up. A lot of learners start with a lot of energy. They study for 3 hours a day for a week, but then they get tired. They stop.
I've definitely done that. The burnout is real. It's better to study for 15 minutes a day for a year than 5 hours a day for a week.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you think, I am not talented, please stop thinking that. You don't need talent. You just need to show up today and then show up again tomorrow.
That's very encouraging, John. But, I have another question. What if someone studies hard, they are consistent, but they still don't improve? I've heard students say, I try so hard, but nothing sticks in my brain.
Oh, that is a heartbreaking situation. It really is. But usually when that happens, the problem isn't the student. The problem is the method.
The method? You mean how they're learning?
Yes. Let's go back to my friend Mike. Imagine if Mike spent his 30 minutes every morning just reading a list of grammar rules, just reading dry, boring lists. Do you think he would speak Spanish well?
No way. He might know the rules, but he wouldn't be able to have a conversation. He would probably sound like a robot. Hello, how are you? I am fine.
Exactly. And he would be so bored. You know, a huge part of learning is enjoyment. If you hate what you're doing, your brain will reject it. It's like trying to eat food you dislike.
That is so true. When I finally improved my French, it was because I stopped worrying about textbooks and started listening to music and watching YouTube videos about cooking. I love cooking, so I was learning French without even realizing it.
See, that is the secret. You connected the language to something you loved. That isn't talent, Emily. That is strategy.
Strategy. I like that. So we have consistency and we have the right method. Is there anything else?
I think there is one last thing, and this might be the biggest barrier for adults. It is fear.
Oh boy, fear of making mistakes?
Yes, fear of looking stupid, fear of saying the wrong word. Babies don't have this fear. When a baby learns to speak, they say goo goo gaga. They make mistakes all day long, and parents just clap and smile.
That's true. We don't judge babies. But as adults, we're so hard on ourselves. We think if I make a mistake, people will laugh at me.
Precisely. People who seem talented are often just people who are not afraid to make mistakes. They just talk. They don't care if their grammar is perfect. They just want to communicate.
So being brave is more important than being talented.
I would say yes, 100%. If you are brave enough to open your mouth and speak, you will learn. If you are talented but you are too shy to speak, you will never improve.
That's such a powerful message. It reminds me of a quote I read. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried.
Oh, I love that. Can you say it again?
The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried.
That is beautiful. It means that making mistakes is actually the path to becoming a master.
Yes, so let's recap a little bit. We talked about how talent is mostly a myth.
Right. And we talked about how consistency, doing a little bit every day, is the real key to success.
And we discussed finding a method you enjoy so it doesn't feel like boring work.
And finally, we talked about being brave. Don't let the fear of mistakes stop you.
You know, John, talking about this makes me feel motivated to go learn something new myself. Maybe I should try to learn the guitar again. I always said I had no talent for music, but maybe I just didn't practice enough.
Haha, go for it, Emily. I'm sure if you practice for 20 minutes a day, you'll be playing songs in a few months.
I might just do that. And for our listeners, I hope you feel the same way about your English.
Yes, we want you to look in the mirror and say, I don't need magic, I just need practice.
And remember, we're here to help you with that practice. Every time you listen to our podcast, you're putting in the work. You're building that muscle.
Exactly. You're doing it right now. Give yourself a pat on the back. Well, friends, we are coming to the end of today's episode. I hope this conversation has helped you feel more confident about your English journey.
We really enjoyed talking about this topic. Before we go, let's quickly look at 3 key words we used today. The first word is consistency.
Consistency means doing something regularly, like brushing your teeth every day. Consistency is the key to learning.
The second word is myth, M-Y-T-H. A myth is a widely held but false belief or idea, like the idea that you need a gift to learn English.
And the last word is barrier. A barrier is something that blocks you or stops you from moving forward. Fear is often the biggest barrier to speaking.
Great summary, John. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Be English podcast. It really helps us to keep making more episodes for you.
And tell us in the comments, do you think talent is important or is it all about hard work? We would love to hear your story.
Thank you so much for listening today. Keep practicing, keep smiling, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's right. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.